5 of the SRO's GT America powered by AWS. Race cars from the second half of the 2022 season. So welcome to Race 1 of a Music City doubleheader from Nashville, Tennessee. Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Reed and AWS City will be the headline race and demonstrate.
Welcome to Nashville. A look down on Broadway tells you everything you need to know about Music City. Jammed with fans, a lot of whom are here for the racing this weekend. Look at that grandstand at the end of a long day that included a classic Tennessee frog swallower of a rainstorm that washed this 2.17 mile, 11 turn circuit absolutely clean. I'm Bob Varsha alongside Ryan Marine, who'll be calling the play-by-play. Amanda Busick is down in the pit lane. We are moments away from the start, which is happening just after sunset here in the shadow of Nissan Stadium, home of the NFL Tennessee Titans. If you remember this race from a year ago, it was action-packed. The track has been modified slightly from last year. Some of the bumps smoothed out, but certainly not all. And the start line, perhaps the most dramatic change, has been moved to the straightaway coming off the Korean War Veterans Memorial Bridge to give the cars a little bit more room to maneuver as they begin this 40-minute race. You see the last shards of the day in the background. Hard to believe that just a few hours ago this place was awash in rainwater, but now we have beautiful blue skies as the sun begins to set in the west. You see the cars lined up on pit row. Those headlights will be useful in the minutes and laps to come. Just a gorgeous weekend here at Nashville. We'll talk more about the championship with two classes in action and titles coming as we begin the second half of the season. Now let's get down to Amanda.
Well, a guest from CrowdStrike, and he's positioned at C-Event, Pradeep Manakara, with the words that every driver in motorsports wants to hear.
Driver, start your engines.
Now you hear the hum. Every car you ever dreamed of owning. Aston Martin, Porsche, Mercedes, BMW, Ferrari, Audi, the list goes on and on. It's a 26-car field, beautifully diverse in terms of mechanical representation. The cars will now make a complete lap plus half a lap to get to the rolling start line as they exit pit row. Here's a look at the starting grid. Onofrio Triarsi, in his very first race of 2022, has the pole with his teammate alongside. Jason Daskalos, a part of the championship fight, led by George Kurz, who starts his Mercedes on row 3. David Askew was on the podium twice in this race a year ago. Mirko Schultes came all the way from Germany to take part. Kyle Washington, the 9th and final car in the SRO 3 category. We'll also see GT4 in action. Rob Holland starts from pole. Ross Chwest, another driver who reached the podium in this event last year. He'll be looking for more, but it's going to be very difficult. The track is coming around after the heavy rain washed it clean. We've had some other series working hot sessions on track, so some more rubber has been laid down, but as you can see, concrete walls everywhere. And here is the most distinctive part of this race. The Korean War Veterans Memorial Bridge, crossing the mighty Cumberland River. Now the starting line is right about there, where you see the flag stand, as opposed to the former start and finish line in front of Nissan Stadium. This is one of the corners that's been widened slightly. The walls moved back a little bit to give the drivers better lines of sight going around. Keep in mind, these are what we like to refer to as gentlemen drivers. Bronze, rated internationally by the FIA, the international governing body. These are not drivers who make their living at motorsports. Here's the setting sun as we await the start. Quickly, here's Amanda.
AWS raced here at the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. It was the fans that were delighted by our showing here. And as you can see, the stand's still full of fans waiting for tonight. The headlights are on these cars. Sunset is coming at 7:47 p.m. So they are going to race at night here in Nashville. But Bobby, talk about those 26 cars. The front 9 of those are our GT3 cars. If you want to find the points leader, he is starting in that P6 position today, but he's coming off of a 24-hour Spa win in the Bronze Cup, so you know he's coming in with energy, looking for his 5th win of a row. Is George Kurtz in the category, and as you said, Rob Holland on pole in GT4. But what I find most interesting about this class, there have been 7 different winners so far in this class in this series, and none of them are on the front 2 rows as we kick off race number 1 here in Nashville.
That's a great point. George Kurtz threatens to run away with the title after 4 straight wins in SRO 3. He leads by 53 points in class. In GT4, 6 drivers are within 53 points of the championship lead. And with regard to that win by George Kurtz in the AM class at the Spa 24 Hours, he drove with Tim Mueller, Valentin Pierberg, and you are allowed 1 silver-rated driver in the series. That driver was Rina Jufali, a female from Saudi Arabia, and they won. Congratulations to George. Time to get down to work. The green flag waves and we're underway here in Music City. Keep in mind, 2 Ferrari teammates on the front row. Everything looks good. Passing the pit in line. Comes turn 3. And here comes the GT4 class. Off the War Memorial Bridge. And they are underway. Early contact there between that white Mustang and arrival. See the leader lights on the windshield. Green, they'll tell you where the cars are in class. Heavy traffic here. Oops, a problem. Car number 39, Chris Cagnazzi, has pulled to a stop. Still showing green. He was the winner in the second of the 2 races here last year in GT4. Once again, up and over the Veterans Bridge. Back to the SRO 3 cars.
Am I clear to give this a try? Well, thanks for getting us started there, Bob. Apologies for that, but we are off and running here on the streets of Nashville, where the pole sitter Onofrio Triarsi, as mentioned in his debut in the GT America powered by AWS Championship, has taken a nice lead from pole, but his teammate Justin Wetherill coming under pressure here from Jason Daskalos, Bob. Daskalos was very strong on the street course in St. Petersburg at the beginning of the season, and he and that Audi look like they are on form once again.
Wetherill has dropped back a bit from his team owner, Onofrio Triarsi. Is he playing rear gunner? Trying to keep Daskalos back.
Whether that's his intention or not, that's the outcome, isn't it? With the Dascolo's car very much stuck in traffic. We've talked about it, Bob. This is a tough track just to drive by yourself, but then you throw the traffic into the mix. The fact this is going to be multi-class racing with the GT3 cars mixing it up with GT4. It makes for a real challenge, and it's a quick race too, just 40 minutes in length. Here's a good battle here. A couple of former teammates. The points leader, George Kurtz, fresh off of that win at Spa that you mentioned. That's the CrowdStrike Mercedes. He's working on David Askew, who owns that DXDT racing team, and that's who George drove for a year ago. Now it's Riley Motorsports running the car for George. 6 minutes on the clock. George Kurtz continuing to pressure David Askew. While he does so, let's head back down to the pit lane and Amanda.
Yeah, just a little quick add on Chris Cagnazzi. He did join the race at the back of the grid. Earlier in the day in qualifying, he hit the wall. They had to do a chassis change. He also has Joker tires on that Mercedes, though, so maybe, just maybe, that'll give him a little advantage here as he gets this race underway.
Something to keep an eye on, that's for sure. This is that car back underway. That's good news there for Chris. But it's going to take some help to get back into the mix after the miscue earlier.
Cagnazzi, one of 5 drivers in this series with experience in the one-make Ferrari Challenge Series in North America. Of that group, only 2 of the 5 are driving Ferraris in this race. Make of that what you will.
Street courses haven't necessarily been kind for Chris. You go back to the season opener at St. Pete, he was on pole in GT4, but was taken out early there, suffered damage that caused him to have to miss the second race in that particular event. He did win his class here in the second race of the weekend in Nashville last season, so it's a guy who knows this track. He's had some success here before. This is the GT4 battle. Road Tech Racing sweeping the front row. Rob Holland, who was very quick in St. Pete. He was good here last year in the Mustang, but he's in the Cayman now this season. And the sister car, that is a Mustang. Hector Lau starting in the second spot, continuing to have a nice strong run. He's dropped 1 spot. Rosh West able to jump ahead and grab second position. And Rob Holland continues to show the way in GT4.
Usual layout of this track, seen from above, was designed to replicate or suggest a musical note, which is kind of interesting, and it certainly is challenging. Not a lot of high-speed corners, so your car really has to handle well. It was designed by Tony Kottman, who's had a hand in so many street circuits around the country.
Tony definitely knows how to lay out some of these street courses. Rob Holland, as mentioned, was really strong at St. Petersburg. That was still in the non-fully homologated version of this new GT4 Cayman, which made its debut in international competition this year. But Rob really likes it, and talking to some of the other drivers, they pointed out that Cayman is the car, the platform that maybe best suits this track. It's very nimble in some of these tight, twisty corners, and especially the BMW drivers that I talked to said they just don't have that ability to change direction quickly that the Porsche has exhibited here this weekend.
Rob Holland was second and third in class here a year ago as this race debuted. It's been extremely successful in its short history. 100,000 spectators expected this weekend.
Now we see the leaders getting into the GT4 traffic. Sriarsi does not have a lot of experience doing this. Let's remember, he comes out of single-make Ferrari racing. He's relatively new to GT3 racing, let alone mixed class racing. And this is a track, Bob, that will take a lot of patience. It will test the mettle of the drivers, knowing that there are going to be times where the traffic is going to hinder them, but other times it will provide an opportunity. Weather Wetherell running second. Dascolo still hot on his heels. That's the second place Ferrari making his way alongside Nick Shanny in one of the GT4 Supers. And this is traffic having a say in the action. Wetherell was not expecting that move from Shanny. That opened the door for Dascalos, and rather forcefully, he got the elbows out and he made his way forward.
Deep on the braking.
Take a look at it here.
Oh. Yeah, I guess you could call that forcefully.
Let's remember, Jason Dascalos has a great deal of experience in this championship going back to the World Challenge, the Pirelli World Challenge era. And it was not uncommon to run GT and GTS together. He has some of that experience on street courses. He's got experience working through the traffic, and he was very opportunistic there. Keep in mind as well, the street course in St. Pete was a strong place for this platform earlier in the season.
No question about it. Street racing is not for the timid.
.31 minutes on the clock. A quarter of the way through the race already. Let's get an update from the pits in Amanda.
Well, Ryan, I'm not sure if a car can have a body language, but if there's one that is given off aggression or let me see a way around this, it's going to go to Jason Dascalos, as you were just talking about. We saw him come through the chicane here earlier. Just his braking and trying to get around these cars. I talked to Jason prior to the race, and as you mentioned, he absolutely loves street courses. When it looked at opportunities of passing zones on this track, it's going to be into those heavy braking zones coming off the bridge and coming back over into turn 9 is where Jason's going to look at those passing opportunities.
And then you get the unorthodox passing opportunities that the traffic will present. And that goes both ways. The GT4 field also, as I often say with Calvin, there's an art to being passed. And the GT4 drivers that best handle that are going to be in a good position to fight in their own class.
Question about it. You have to be able to react to circumstances quickly. If you're wondering, the regular voice of Calvin Fish is busy elsewhere on this extraordinary racing weekend. It's more over the bridge. You can see the cars squirming as they get light over the apex of the bridge.
It's a huge talking point last year, but I think you talked about it earlier, Bob. The event organizers extended some of the repave and the resurfacing a little bit further to make that transition somewhat more benign, especially for the open wheel cars, but even in these high-strung GT3 cars. It was a wild ride a year ago. Look here at Scott Smithson, who's put in a strong run. He too was quite good in St. Petersburg at the very beginning of the season. And Scott right now running a solid 4th, and as I say that, just gets the braking wrong and he's in the tire barrier.
Doesn't look like a lot of damage other than to Scott Smithson's ego. He is a rookie in the series, getting expert coaching from a Le Mans 24-hour winner in Dirk Müller of Germany. Well, that was unfortunate.
It was. It cost him at least one position as Kurtz was able to get by. This is what happened. Pushing that braking zone over the bumps. You can see the car bounding over the bumps. Just got it that little bit wrong. And he's dropped down now to the 5th spot and coming under some pressure from Kyle Washington. But this has been the big mover here. George Kurtz started towards the back. Rain did play a part in the qualifying session, so there is that chance that a driver might not have been able to put that ultimate lap together when the rain came just towards the end of qualifying. And we know George is driving with a lot of confidence right now. He's on quite a win streak.
You might think, well, what's wrong with a bumpy racetrack other than driver comfort? Well, we just saw an example of the effect it can have as the driver tries to apply the brakes while bounding over those bumps. You're going to lose braking, you're going to lose steering, understeer is induced, and you're looking at a pile of tires. That light is beautiful at this time of day.
Racing into the twilight as we did for race 1 here last year. These headlights, they're not just for show, as you can see. And by the end of this, we will be racing past the sunset time in Nashville, 7:47 local time. This race is slated to end some 10 minutes beyond that point. So the headlights will be a requirement. And it makes for some beautiful sight lines. The cars make great sound in the night. For some reason, a racing car does sound different at night, and I don't know why that is.
Nor do I. Although I have to say, when I went out to tend to business outside our commentary position earlier, I thought the sun had already set because the shadows were enveloping the track. Well, you can see that that part of the track outside the stadium is fully shadowed.
Look at the overall leader at Onofrio Triarci, who, as Bob mentioned, is making his season debut in GT America, has been contesting the entire GT World Challenge America powered by AWS season. Vanatech GT running in the AM class, the current points leader in that class, driving with his brother-in-law, Charlie Scardina. But he saw this as an opportunity to take part in a big-time event. It's such a draw, and you have a number of drivers that are making their season debuts this weekend because they know the crowd is going to be here. They've got an appetite for racing. We saw it last year. The crowd stuck around for this last race of the day. And GT America putting on a show right now on the streets of Music City. Here. This is for second and third in GT4. Ross West has been on a great run of form as of late. He holds that second spot. He was able to jump Edgar Lau right at the start, but that Mustang is looming ominously behind the black Aston Martin.
The only Ford Mustang in the field. Lau from Hong Kong.
A lot of racing in various Asian championships, but got hooked up with Rob Holland's Rotec Racing team, stepped into this Mustang. We've seen him in Rally GT4 America this year with various drivers, Mike Skeed, Billy Johnson, and they've had some strong results as of late. Right now, running in a good position as the overall leader makes his way through. Back down to Amanda.
Ryan, I attended the drivers briefing earlier this weekend, and the president of SRO America, Greg Gill, got up to address the drivers, and as you were saying, was talking about the entertainment that was provided here in Nashville by this series, and especially at this night race. And I tell you guys, the stands down here are still full, watching the 10 different manufacturers that are on this track right now. But I want to go back to last year in a conversation that I had with Adam Adelson after the race at the podium. He was not on podium, but he was at Victory Circle, and I was just asking him about how his day went, and he said, Amanda, I signed an autograph today. And with the paddocks being open here in Nashville for the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, it is not only a great show for these fans, but it's also a wonderful experience for these drivers.
And all of these drivers can say they were an opening act for Tim McGraw, who goes on stage right after the checkered flag falls. He's only Nashville tour date this season.
I'm sure that has nothing to do with the size of the crowd down there in those grandstands, but whatever.
But it goes to show what the event organizers have put on here. This is a true festival. Racing is front and center, but music is a big part of it, as it ought to be in Music City. The scrap has not gone anywhere. Daskalos made that bold move, as we talked about, to grab second from Wetherill, but Wetherill is hanging tight, and this battle for second and third in GT4 also remains tight as Lau is right there. He's in the slipstream. This is about as close to Ross West as we've seen him, cresting that bridge over the Cumberland River. We'll see if he'll be close enough to make a move, dropping back. Adam Adelson, who Amanda was talking about earlier. That's the Premier Racing Porsche you see there with the bright yellow accents on that car, reminiscent of the White Lightning team of days gone by. And
absolutely.
When there's a reason for that. The team owner was a part of the White Lightning team several decades ago.
It's the first race team I thought of when I saw that livery with that day glow, lime, green, yellow, whatever you want to call it. And it just jumps.
Kent Moore was the crew chief on those White Lightning teams back in the early 2000s, and he's the team owner for this Las Vegas-based team, and they have been extremely strong this year. Adam has stepped his game up even further, and he's driving alongside Elliott Skier in Pirelli GT4 America, and those two are a pair that have their eyes on a class championship this season. Kent will like to know that you immediately thought of White Lightning when you saw the car.
I need to go tell him that.
Closing in on the halfway mark already. 21 minutes, 52 seconds to go. And look at this, a change of seconds. Wetherell has gotten past Daskalos. So those two now have swapped that position several times. Not sure what led to that, but Justin Wetherell doing a great job to stay in the mix, fighting through the traffic, stayed in contact, and whatever the case may be, whether it was a mistake or simply an opportunistic move, Wetherell was able to take the second spot back.
While pole sitter Triarci is 5 seconds up the road.
Some stats here from our friends at AWS, Race Vision powered by AWS, and take a look at that. I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but look who's at the top of the charts for overall top speed. 155 miles an hour down the city streets and over the Korean Veterans Memorial Bridge here in Nashville.
Wetherell coming up on traffic. Good driving from the BMW, staying out of the way of the faster cars coming through.
Oh, Daskalos, he wants that spot back. That's not a place it's going to be easy to make a move, but he certainly poked the nose out.
We didn't see the pass, but I wonder if Daskalos maybe stumbled just a little bit, opened the door for Wetherell, because right now, Daskalos looks very racy.
Race Vision graphic we saw a moment ago, that is telling, because barring traffic, you're going to need to be close enough getting to some of these braking zones at either end of the bridge to be able to make a pass for position within your own class. And if he's at a top end speed disadvantage, that could be very difficult to do. Oh, a problem there for the Forbush performance car. Great to have, actually, I'm sorry, that's Smooch Racing. Todd Coleman with some damage to the right front of his Toyota Supra, another graduate of Ferrari Challenge. And that car is secondhand, full course yellow for the first time. It was a clean opening 20 minutes, but as we clicked over past the halfway mark, Todd Coleman brings out the safety car for the first time, and there goes that 5-second lead for Onofrio Triarci.
Judging from the damage at the right front, it looks like he perhaps missed, understeered toward the tires, but missed the tires and caught the concrete. That would be a pretty good hit at that part of the racetrack. It'll be interesting to watch this restart too, because right behind Jason Velasquez is the aforementioned George Kurtz, who leads the championship. Velasquez will be desperate to finish ahead of him because of that 53-point margin that Kurtz brings into this weekend, with 200 points remaining, including this race. We're going to have to get ahead of Kurtz, who's won the last 4 races on the trot and 5 on the season.
5 in a row, too, if you count the Total Energies 24 Hours of Spa.
Which, of course, we don't, but...
Not in this series, not for points. But
Great
I think he'll count that one.
Great race. We've been there. I'm sure he was just over the moon to win in his class.
No question about it. He's tried it a few times. That SPS Automotive team that he drove for, that spin the team he's gone over with in the past several years, and it all came together for him. And that was a big, big check off the bucket list for George Kurtz, who might yet add a series championship. He's already a GT4 champion in SRO America competition going back a few years when it was known as the GTS series. He won in his GTSA class. He's been in fine form in GT3 racing, and you bring up a great point. This safety car is exactly what he needed. He made his way forward, but still had a lot of ground to make up. Well, he's done that now thanks to the safety car, and now he can go on the attack. Jason Harward coming through. Zalus Motorsports, the team, that brightly colored Lamborghini. They were supposed to have a sister car in this race for Jeff Burton, but a crash for him in practice prior to qualifying has unfortunately ruled Jeff out for the weekend. It's been a tough stretch for Jeff with a couple of crashes at Watkins Glen, but he's always got a smile on his face. Hope to see him at the next round of the series at Road America.
Well, for his part, Jason Harward is third in the SRO 3 championship. He'll take the restart just 2 places behind the series leader.
Well, it should be a quick cleanup, it would appear. So we should be going back to green, and it's something we talked about off the top, but a major change is where the restart is occurring, and it will restart on the bridge where the initial start happened, rather than in the tight, twisty section. That should make for some fireworks when we get back to green. While we run under the safety car, down to Amanda.
Well, one of the good things about this safety car that might happen could be for that guy sitting up in the front in 030 Triarzi when you think about the traffic that he was facing prior to this full course yellow. But I talked to him prior to the race about his pole sitting effort that he earned here today, and he said that it's his first year in SRO America, but it was with great effort. And he knew that being #1 in class today could help him in getting the victory.
It was a big talking point, wasn't it? The importance of qualifying at this track. Here is some good news. The lights are off on the safety car, so they'll come around one more time, and it's in about this position right here that the green flag will come out once again. And we'll resume racing with under 15 minutes to go.
You talk about the importance of qualifying. That session was scheduled for 15 minutes. So basically you get, 5 laps in, and it was rained out a minute short of the schedule, so it was even more tense for the drivers out there.
And that rain, when it came, it wasn't like there was a build-up to it. It just opened up. What was the term you used in the open?
Frog swallower.
Frog swallower. Well, I'm not sure what that means, but it seems fitting.
It's a bit of a metaphor, really, but I digress.
Credit to all involved for keeping it clean when the skies opened up here on the streets of Nashville. And it did lead to a lengthy delay, but luckily that did not affect the start time for race 1 of the weekend. And keep in mind, this is race 1 of a doubleheader. We'll be back at it again tomorrow with race 2 in much different conditions tomorrow morning. One of the first events to get on track tomorrow, 10:30 or thereabouts. So when that race is scheduled to get underway. All of these races crucial towards the season-long championship, which is coming down to the wire now. Just a few races remaining. A trip to Road America, a trip to Sebring, and then wrapping up the famous Indianapolis Motor Speedway in support of the Indianapolis 8-hour.
So see, the clock runs during the safety car, so there's a lot of drivers sitting behind the wheel thinking, okay, let's go, let's go, let's go. It looks like we are ready to go.
Headed back over the bridge, and the pace starting to quicken, and over the Triarzi steps on it, and he pulls away from his teammate Justin Wetherill, who pulls away in turn from Jason Daskalos, which brings us to this fight for 4th, 5th, and 6th. A little bit further back, George Kurtz, who started at the back of the SRO 3 field. He's been charging forward, but can he get up on the podium?
Question for Amanda, if she can hear me. Amanda, was anything said at the drivers' meeting about where the leader could accelerate on a restart over that bridge? I didn't see any designated area, but no question, Onofrio Triarzi was hammered down the moment he could see over the top of the bridge.
Sun setting in the background in Music City. George Kurtz has his hands full. We thought he might be the one on the attack. Instead, he's playing defense. Right behind him, Scott Smithson, with whom he dueled on the streets of St. Petersburg at the very beginning of the season. They're fighting right now for 4th and 5th, and Jason Harward, who passed Kyle Washington right before that full course yellow to get up there into the 5th, make that the 6th spot. He's very much in the mix as well.
Look how narrow that is. Maybe 2 car widths. If you didn't need any space between them.
Oh, and Daskalos has made the move, very aggressive, but Wetherell has been able to get the power down, and we know how quick the prancing horse is in a straight line. It'll be a drag race, and look at that. Wetherell blitzes around the outside and takes that second spot right back.
That Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo definitely has some torque.
Daskalos looking aggressive. He knows time is running out, and he probably is going to need to make this move in an unconventional spot, given the straight line speed of the Ferrari. He's there in the tire tracks, but is he close enough to make a move?
Turn 6 and up onto the bridge once again.
Now he is close. He's able to hang with Wetherell as they crest the hill. It was on this end of the track that he was able to pop a move on Wetherell to grab second spot, albeit briefly. This time looks like Wetherell's got him covered. Now to the GT4 fight. Once again on the restart, Rob Holland was able to blitz away. Right behind him, though, Ross West continues his strong run. He is in second. And Edgar Lau, as he has done for the bulk of this race, since dropping back to third right at the very start, putting the pressure on the Louisiana native.
Those GT4 cars seem to carry over the bumps down there in turns 4, 5, and 6. Better than the SRO 3 cars.
Looking compliant over the bumps, and talking to a lot of drivers from various series this weekend. They say this track is as bumpy as any street course in the country. Battle was on here. Adelson, Jason Bell going at it here. Bell in the Aston, Adelson in the Porsche. Bell bails out of it as they come over the bridge. To settle right back there in line. Adelson currently in the GT4 class runs fourth, Bell fifth, and Marco Radicic, who has been strong this season. He was very good in St. Pete. Got a popular win on home soil back in the very beginning of the season. He's lurking, waiting on the wings, currently sixth.
Flashing the headlights as if to pass, but he's not close enough.
George Kurtz, right now the cork in the bottle here as we enter the final quarter of the race. He holds the fourth spot, but he's got Scott Smithson right behind him and Jason Harward too. Those three running nearly identical lap times the last few times through, but you get the impression that maybe Smithson would be quicker if he could get by. It seems like he struggled out in that last corner though, and that's left him compromised. Here comes the Lamborghini flashing the headlights.
There are a number of series around the world that will not allow the driver to flash his headlights at the car ahead more than 3 times. Certainly that's the case in the World Endurance Championship. You can't just keep flashing and disturbing the vision of the driver ahead. Just let him know you're there and race on.
Credit to Smithson, who is still very new to GT3 racing. He saw the pressure coming in. There's a big move there from Harward, late on the brakes, and he can't get it turned into the tire barrier.
I told him to get off the headlight flashing.
We'll see if he can extricate himself, but
doesn't look too bad.
Yeah, here we take a look.
Steered under braking.
Is back off and running. There is some bodywork damage to the right front. Let's see how much did that cost him. Well, it cost him a lot. Dropped back to 9th.
It did. He may have been coming up too quickly on Schultes ahead of him and didn't turn in completely. Meanwhile, this great battle between Kurtz and Smithson continues.
And for Smithson now, he doesn't have to think about defense. He can focus purely out the windshield and trying to plot a path past George Kurtz. best parts of racing at night. You see the sparks flash off the cars. You see the brake rotors glow red. Talked about the soundtrack unique to racing through the night.
It's fun to be among the fans along the dark straightaways at places like Le Mans. And with your eyes closed, see if you can tell what kind of car is going by just by the sound of the engine.
This race has the unique aspect of being not just a night race, but a street course night race. You don't see many of those. Singapore comes to mind on the Formula One circuit. Look at that crowd in the grandstand. They are loving every bit of this battle right here. George Kurtz, the Spa 24 class winner, holds down fourth. Meanwhile, the fight continues in GT4. Edgar Lau putting the power down. You can see that car squirming, that Mustang underneath him, trying to coax every last bit of performance out of the Ford.
Coming up on 6 minutes remaining, and there are those glowing rotors you referred to.
West, he holds the second spot right now. If he were to finish there, that would be his third consecutive runner-up finish here this season in GT America. He was second in both races at Watkins Glen, but it's not a done deal yet. Edgar Lau looks very strong in that Mustang, and Adelson is starting to creep into the picture too. Jason Bell looked like maybe he had something for him just a few laps ago, but instead, now it's Adelson starting to attack. Makes the job all the more difficult for Lau, trying to find a way past Schwest. And I'll say this too for Schwest. Last year, I talked to his driver coach, Aaron Povaledo, and Aaron said he's still wrapping his head around this street course thing. I think he's done it. It's been a very impressive drive to date.
Right. And it's no small task. With these concrete walls everywhere. These are workaday streets, so there's oil buildup and there's troughs cut by heavy trucks going through, making the surface uneven. And of course, as a public road, it is crowned, whereas a racetrack, purpose-built, would not be. It's a very different setup game and driving game. And this field is doing a great job.
It's been a clean race, just one full course yellow to this point, a single car incident, and that, Todd Coleman, everyone else has kept it pretty tiny to this point. There have been a few offs, a little wall contact, a little door-to-door contact too, with Wetherell and Daskalos doing battle earlier, but everyone came out on the other side.
A little rubbing's not a bad thing. As long as you can drive away from it.
It appears some misfortune has befallen Gray Newell, the Heart of Racing team, on lunge there just a moment ago. The GT4 competitors going side by side. This has not let up, has it? Wetherell and Daskalos. You get the feeling this is going to come down to the wire, but Nick Shanny, GT4 traffic, splitting them at least for the moment.
Yeah, I think Daskalos tried an inside move before they ran out of our picture.
Earlier in the race, at least, it looked like Daskalos did have the advantage working through the traffic. That's where he initially made the pass. Ultimately lost that spot a few laps later. But the fact that they have caught the back of the GT4 field once again might yet provide that opportunity with just 3 minutes and 13 seconds to go. This is Jason Daskalos' homegrown team. He's got Nick Short helping with some of the engineering and support. Nick, of course, longtime entrant in this series with CRP Racing. Turned up midway through the season last year to help Jason and his Daskalos Motorsports team. They've had some good runs since then, that's for sure.
That Audi R8 LMS GT3 has been around in some shape or form for many years now. It's amazing that they update it, keep it fresh the way they do. 10-cylinder, normally aspirated. Really distinct engine note.
And for those wondering, this is the original version of that R8. Second generation came out that's then been upgraded a couple of times with various Evo kits, but this predates those cars by a decade or so. But it's found a home here in this GT America series. One of the ideas was to find and provide a playground for some of these older GT3 cars that still exist. They're in the hands of enthusiasts who would like to go racing but didn't have a place to take them. And it's been a popular proposition to this point here in year 2 of GT America. Daskelos, in many ways, is the prime example of this.
Less than a minute and a half to go. Daskelos coming through the fastest part of the racetrack on the run for the acme of the bridge. That left-hander.
And it will be a decent day in the points, all things considered, for Daskelos. We've talked about it. He trails George Kurtz by a significant margin, as does just about everyone. White flag flies here on the streets of Nashville. But he's set to finish ahead of George. Now, George has done a good job to mitigate the damage coming from the back of the SRO3 field to get up there to the 4th spot.
And 3 points between them as they run right now, so no harm, no foul for George Kurtz, who appears, just by watching the car on track, appears to be fighting more of a holding action in the championship rather than perhaps sticking his nose in where it might cost him a whole lot more.
A few more harrowing moments for Onofrio Triarci as he works his way through the GT4 traffic, a lead of almost 3.5 seconds. in his GT America powered by AWS debut. In fact, this might be his street course debut, come to think of it. And he looks right at home on the streets of Nashville, flashing those headlights, coming over the bridge one more time. He's got Jason Clooney's car right ahead of him. Oh, this could get interesting, but he's able to make it work, and the Canadian gives the overall leader the path through.
The rule is you hold your line and let the overtaking car get around you.
Coming to the checkered flag as the sun sets on Music City. Onofrio Triarci on debut, flashes the headlights in celebration. He is on his way to picking up a race win in GT America powered by AWS. Onofrio Triarci wins race 1 in Nashville.
Brave reviews coming on debut for Onofrio Triarci. He can celebrate, but not too much, because he's going to be doing this again tomorrow morning in race 2 of this doubleheader weekend. And
it's a 1-2 for the Triarci Competizione team. Justin Wetherill comes home in second, prevailing in that duel with Jason Daskelos. Meanwhile, Rob Holland has put together a near picture-perfect performance, so much so we've hardly seen him, but he is well clear of the competition in the Rotec Racing Porsche. And he just has a few more corners separating him from his first win in this Porsche platform. Rob Holland, the veteran racer, veteran on the Nürburgring. He's raced in World Touring cars. He's raced in British Touring cars. He's a race winner in GT America going back to last season. And he looks to make it yet another race win in his esteemed career.
He has no tail lights on that car. He has brake lights, but not tail lights, and he doesn't care. He takes the checkered flag for a hard-fought win.
First win of the season in the GT4 class for Rob Holland, and that puts him back in the championship conversation for GT4. Ross West takes second spot, holds off Edgar Lau, who finishes up on the podium. Adelson and Bell ahead of Andy Pilgrim, the top 6 in the GT4 class. With the sun sinking in the horizon, the CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race goes to the pole man and the race winner, Onofrio Triarci.
That is well under the old course record, as was his pole time. 5 drivers under 1 minute 30 seconds. The course has been modified a little bit, but that is a pretty significant improvement in terms of performance on this second-year street circuit.
To that end, a lot of the discussion has been about tightening a few of the corners. So if anything, you would think that maybe the track would slow down, but that has not been the case. Triarsi with a tour de force to kick off the weekend.
And I'll repeat something we always say when we run into the evening, here or anywhere, it's a lot darker out there than it looks, thanks to our TV cameras.
There is the look of victory here in Nashville, and Onofrio Triarsi. We'll be hearing from him shortly. An impressive debut in this GT America Championship. This goes now in addition to all the wins he's already racked up in the AM class of Fanatec GT World Challenge America powered by AWS. Lots of Ferrari Challenge experience, but very new to GT3 racing. Made a couple of starts at Sebring last year, did a 24-hour race at Sebring later in the year, but that's it as far as GT3 experience goes prior to this season. And Onofrio Triarsi finds victory lane as a solo driver in GT America.
So look at the pedestrian bridge crossing the Cumberland River. Looks like Tim McGraw's about ready to fire up. I don't know who's opening for him. Beautiful amphitheater there. As you can see, the bridges over the Cumberland are illuminated, as is the skyline of Music City, USA. Here's Amanda.
Well, Onofrio, you told me with the pole sitting position that you started with today that it took effort. Well, today you had to drive through traffic. You had to defend yourself on the restart. How much effort did it take to get this inaugural win for yourself?
I definitely didn't stop pushing out there. You know, it was exciting from the start to have a 1-2 lockout on the front row. The team did an amazing job. Co-driver did a fantastic job keeping up with the pace and setting new laps for himself. And it was great just managing the traffic and staying safe out there. And we got a great result.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Phenomenal effort. I think the co-driver is the teammate that he's referencing,
Right.
Justin Wetherell, who again completed that 1-2 finish for Triarsi Competizione. Not sure they've ever done that before. In fact, they couldn't have to this point of the season. Let's look at the provisional race results. It is Triarsi by 2.4 seconds over his teammate Wetherell. Daskalos yet another podium here this season ahead of George Kurtz, who has his 4-race win streak snapped, but still a strong run to get up to 4th. Smithson, Askew, Harward, who had a good run going until a late miscue. He did recover to get past Schultes to 7th in the end, and Kyle Washington rounds out the SRO 3 field. Then you get to Rob Holland, who we'll hear from momentarily. He wins the rest of the podium in GT4. Ross Schwest, Edgar Lau, Adam Adelson, and Jason Bell completing the top 5. Let's hear from Rob Holland now with Amanda.
Well, Ryan, there have been 8 different winners now in the GT4 class here in GT America powered by AWS. And when you look at that, 8 different winners, Rob, describe the parity in this class this season.
Well, it's amazing, but I'm glad to be one of those 8 now. You know, it was really getting a long list and we weren't on it. And yeah, it was frustrating. We got this car right before St. Pete, so we really haven't any time to develop or test the car. The guys have been working hard at Rotec Racing. You know, we've had our partners Helapagan and Motul with us the whole way, and it's really been a whole team effort. We had Brian Ma engineering this car, and also Edgar Lau in the Mustang, and we got 2 cars on the podium, 2 different manufacturers, 2 cars on the podium for Rotec Racing. I'm over the moon. You can tell I'm speechless, and that never happens.
Because we'll be racing this thing in the daylight tomorrow. Just your experience on racing here at night in Nashville on the street course.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, the energy here is so great. You know, it's you know, whatever, 8 o'clock at night, and you figure, okay, everybody's going home or going to the concert or whatever, and the stands are packed, and everybody's cheering, and flash bulbs are going off, and such great energy, such great people. I hope we're here for a really long time.
Congratulations on the win.
I'll echo those sentiments. I hope we come back as long as this event is a thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Really well done. Gorgeous sunset. What an end to an exciting day here in Nashville. And the best part of it is that we get to do it again.
That's right. Race 2 of the weekend coming up tomorrow morning. So the celebration isn't going to be all that intense tonight for Onofrio Triarsi and Rob Holland. They've got a relatively early wake-up call just after 10:30. The green flag set to fall for race 2 of the weekend. Now the attention starts to turn to the musical entertainment that is still to come here tonight in Nashville. But what a great show. What a great experience to be a part of this event. And you heard
from every driver you talk to this weekend. They're so excited just to be a part of this. Well, a great day, a great start to the weekend. Broadway here in Nashville, all alight. The party has already begun. We'll be back for day 2 tomorrow. Thanks for joining us. For Bob and Amanda, I'm Ryan. So long from Music City.